Thank you.
Huh? Hello, hello.
Hello,
Okay. Hi. Kejap.
Tanya.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hi. Good evening to Madam Nora. Um, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining our interview for today. My name is Dania, and these are my teammates. Can you guys introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Adam.
Hi, my name is Arwin.
So before we start, is it okay if Madam Nora introduce herself?
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Naura and currently working as a marketing director at Retail Print Shopee Sdn Bhd. And sorry if I don't open my camera because I'm in the car actually.
Right, it's okay.
So yeah.
So before we start, can we like have a brief introduction about Retech Print Shop? Like, what do they do, or like what processes do you guys have?
Okay, so Retail Print Shopee Sdn Bhd is actually, we started off as a printing and advertising company. And then after a while, we evolve to not evolve, sorry, expand to in the event management industry as well. So like we do PA system and then exhibition booth, multi-camera production, gimmick services, and things like that. So usually we cater for government agencies and also private companies and enterprises.
So today we'll be interviewing Madam Nara for Retech Print Shop. So like can you walk us through like how does Retech Print Shop processes currently work? For example, like how an order moves from customer request to final delivery.
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
Means like the process in Retech Print Shop, like how do customers order things and how do they process it and how do they deliver the product? Yeah,
Okay.
like basically the process of standard of procedure in Retail Print Shop.
Okay. So the process usually begin when a customer contacts us to inquire about a specific product or services. So along the way, they will request details such as material option, the size, and the lead time. And then once we understand their requirements, we will provide quotation for them so that they will have like a clear understanding of the cost before they proceed with the job. And then if the customer agrees with the quotation, we proceed to confirm the order. And then the customer required to make either full payment or deposit depending on the item and the arrangement. And then when we receive the payment, we will register the invoices and the bills into our accounting system. And then the third part is when we started with the design and artwork development. So the salesperson will then assign the job to one of our graphic designers. And then the designer will work on the artwork based on the customer specification. And then after preparing the artwork, it will be sent to the customer for the customer to review and approve. And then if there's any need and if there's any revision that will be needed, we will make the revision until the customer signs off the final version of the artwork, meaning like the approved artwork. And then once the artwork is approved, designer will submit the job to our production team. So the production process usually takes about 5 to 7 working days, depending on the complexity and the type of the item ordered. After that, so when the production is completed, our driver will collect the finished product from the production and then brings them to our office, and then we will notify the customer that the order is ready. So the customer will collect at our office, or they will arrange the delivery depending on the original agreement. That's all.
So for this process, like daily operations, is there like any challenges or like inefficiencies during the whole process? Like, is there any like challenges, for example, like starting from the order to communicating with customers, or like to delivery of the product? Like, what's the most common challenges that retail print shop go through in daily operations?
Okay. So the most common challenges that we face in our daily operation is usually design restriction due to high workload, meaning to say that when our graphic designers receive high volume jobs at the moment, at the same time, so their workload becomes overwhelming. So when a graphic designer gets too much workload at the same time, it can slow down the artwork process, the artwork development. So as a result, customer may start to follow up on the status of their artwork. And then when there's a delay at the design stage, so naturally it will extend the production timeline. And then when this happens, we need to explain the delays to our customers to manage their expectations. And then part of that is production delays. The second challenges is production delays caused by technical issues. So even though when the artwork is approved and sent to the production according to the schedule, sometimes unexpected technical issues can still cause a delay. For example, like if the inkjet machine encounters a problem or it requires repair, so the production team have to pause the job until the equipment is fixed. So these unforeseen breakdowns will affect the entire workflow, and then it will delay the delivery timeline. So again, we need to communicate with the customers so that they will understand the situation, and we need to manage their expectations. That's all.
Okay. Hi, Miss Navra.
Hi.
Alright. So moving on to the next question. Is to know about the company's manual and automated tasks. So now when everything is digitalized these days, which part of your workflow are still done manually, where it needs constant human updates, and which area in your workflow would benefit the most from digitalization or automation?
Okay. Which part of workflow done manually, and which area will benefit the most from digitalization? Okay. So the parts of our workflow that is still handled manually at this point is, I would say, the design stage, because our graphic designers and technicians must prepare, check, and adjust the files before they can be sent to printing. So the tasks include such as color correction, layout formatting, and then verifying the overall printing suitability. Because every artwork is unique, so this process is very highly dependent on human expertise. So it's very time consuming, especially during the peak periods. And then I think the second part of the workflow that is still done manually is manual quality checks. So before we before we proceed with the mass production, usually we will conduct a manual proofing, so to ensure that the output matches with the customer's expectations. So usually we will produce like just one sample of the product, and then it will be reviewed by both of our internal staff and the customers to make sure for its accuracy, the color consistency, and then whether the content is correct. So these type of checks involves physical samples and hands-on inspection by our staff. So it adds more time to the workflow. And then which area would benefit from digitalization? I would say both of the graphic design and file preparation and proofing, because those two are very time intensive stage for our process of workflow. So if we introduce digital tools like AI assisted layout corrections or any online proofing platform, it will significantly speed up these steps. So digitalization will help to reduce repetitive manual work and minimize error, and also helps to shorten the overall turnaround time. So especially when we handle a lot of orders simultaneously. That's all.
Right, Miss. So moving on to the next question. So as you mentioned before, you have a lot of departments, right? For example, design that you mentioned, and you probably have sales, production, all those kind of departments. So how does the information typically flow between these departments? Is it like, coherent in all the departments, or are there any departments that being left out, or are there any communication gaps between all these departments?
Okay. Communication flow. So usually the salesperson will take the order from customer, and then once the customer made the payment, the salesperson will pass the job to the designer for the next step, which is the designing process. And then once the customer approve the design, the designer will pass the job to production, and then the production will process the job and inform us once it's done. And then our driver will pick it up from the production, and we will inform the customer that their order is done and they can collect from us. So usually there is no communication gaps along the way, because we want to make sure that the process runs smoothly. So if there's any communication gaps, it's going to make the workflow a bit, how to say, delays in the workflow. So we make sure that the flow we make sure that the communication, there's no gap in the communication, so that it runs smoothly every day.
Right. So just to double confirm, when it comes to communication in department, there are no flaws, right?
Yes, usually there's no gap around in the communication among the departments. Yeah, because we need to go one by one from sales, and then to design, and then to production, and then to the finished product. Then only the product is actually there, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next question, it's about customer feedback. So I'm pretty sure you have received a lot of customer feedbacks, and question is, what type of complaints or feedback that you most receive from your customers, and how do they affect your operation, both in the positive and in the negative way?
Okay. Complaints or feedback. Okay. So The most frequent feedback that we receive is the amount of time required for artwork or design preparation. Since our design team is, I would say, relatively small, so their workload can increase significantly during busy periods. So when there's multiple jobs coming at once, the design stage may take a bit longer than the customers expect, because usually designing takes about, I would say, 1 to 3 days or 3 to 5 days. Maximum is 5 days. But sometimes when the job is overload, sometimes it's gonna take 7 days, especially when the design is very complicated. So these delays at the design stage will also affect the production timeline. So it will create frustration for customers that waiting for their final products. And also how it affects our operation, I would say it impacts on customer satisfaction and reputation. So while many of our customers are understanding, but some of them may not be aware of the workload or the complexity involved in the designing process. So when their expectations are not met, they may express their dissatisfaction or leave negative reviews at Google, where we use Google to find for like products, right? So if they leave bad reviews at Google, so our new customers will search for printing services, and then these reviews will affect our business reputation and influence our potential customers' decision. Yes, that's all.
Right, Miss. So just another follow-up question for me, final one.
Mhm.
If you refer back earlier, you said that one of the manual things that still being done is designing, right?
Mhm.
And looking back here, that's where we get most of the complaints from the customers. So do you think by automating or digitalizing it, by giving it benefit from digitalization, do you think it would improve your customer feedback, since designing is still being done manually and we are implementing any digital solution for it?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Right, Miss. So earlier you said that designing is still being done manually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and looking back, it takes a lot of time because it's being done manually and it affects the customer feedback, right?
Yes.
So do you think that by implementing, as you said, AI or any digital solution for the designing,
Mm-hmm.
it would improve the customer feedback? It would shorten the time duration.
I would say yes, it will improve the customers' feedback, because our customers are usually fussy ones, but depends. Some of them are understanding and some of them are not really understanding. But I think when we implement all those digitalization like AI and things like that, it will help to improve the feedback from our customers.
Okay, Miss, thank you. I will pass on to my next team.
Okay.
Hi, I'll continue asking the questions for this interview. So for this question, I'll be asking about performance measurement. So at the moment, how do you currently measure the performance or efficiency in your business or the processes? For example, do you measure it through the turnaround times or the amount of errors happening, or maybe by the amount of cost that it takes to do each process?
Okay. So how do we measure the performance? Okay. So we assess the performance of our operations using two main indicators, I would say. It's the turnaround time and error rates. So turnaround time is one of our, I would say, benchmark, because we track how long it takes for a job to move from customer confirmation to final completion, which is to the final product. So when a shorter turnaround time, it shows that our workflow is running smoothly and efficiently. So when the turnaround time begins to increase, it signals potential restrictions, such as design delays or production issues that needs to be addressed. And then the second one is error rates. So we also monitor the number of errors that occur during the design, the proofing, or the production stages. This includes mistakes in artwork or printing defects, incorrect specifications. So when we have low error rates, it reflects strong quality control and also efficient process. Higher error rates, on the other hand, results in we need to reprint the product, delays, additional costs, and reduce customer satisfaction. So I would say those two are how we measure the performance of our processes.
I see. Thank you for your answer, Ms. Nora. On to my second question, I'll be asking about resource constraints, which is what limitations, maybe such as manpower or time or maybe technology, that is making it difficult to improve the current processes if it needs improving, or maybe what are the things that is limiting the process to be more efficient, sorry.
Limitations. I would say one of our biggest limitations is actually the shortage of manpower, especially in the designing department, because we have a small team handling all the artwork preparation. So any increase in the workload will affect our turnaround time. So when multiple design jobs come in at once, our designers will require more time to complete each task, which delays the entire production process. So this makes it a bit challenging to improve speed and efficiency without adding more stuff. And then secondly, I would say time limitations because of product variation. Some of our items that we produce are straightforward and can be completed quickly. For example, just printing on an A4 or photostat, that can be completed quickly. But we also have many other items that are custom made and require longer preparation and production process. So while we understand the timeline differences, some customers don't understand that, and leading to pressure us for faster delivery. So these varying production times makes it difficult for us to standardize or shorten the processes across our product types.
I see. So it's mainly the amount of the small amount of members in the team that is limiting it, and also like the different times that it needs for its processes, I think. Is it?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So on to the last question from me. I'll be asking from yourself as a manager, which process do you think that causes the most delays or unnecessary effort? Maybe I would maybe more to the most delays now. Which process is which processes causes the most delays?
Okay. So from a managerial perspective, the two areas that I would say that contribute the most to delays are at the designing stage and production stage. So designing stage is usually one of our biggest restrictions, because like I said earlier, when our designers receive many jobs at the same time, so the load becomes overwhelming, and then our preparation takes longer than expected. And also every hour requires very careful attention and customization. So the design timeline will extend during peak periods. And then these design delays also will push back the entire workflow, will affect the production and final delivery. And then the second area that contribute to the most delays is production stage. Production stage can also create significant delays because when we do not have enough manpower to handle a lot of jobs at once, or when we have technical issues like machine breakdowns or problems with the inkjet printer, it will pause the production until the repairs are completed. So these interruptions don't only slow down the process, but also requires additional coordination, and also we need to follow up with the customers to make sure that we can manage their expectations.
I see. Right. Understood. Right. So on to the next two questions. I will pass it on to my team members.
Okay, so as we discussed just now, like most of the problems came from designing and also production, right? So like if your company were to change the whole process, for example like communication flow or inventory management or like accounting or like including production or designing, do you think your company or your staff will be open for that kind of change? Like adapting new ways of working or designing the whole process, the whole business process. Do you think your staff will be open to it?
Okay. In my point of view, I think the company is generally very open to adapt new ways of working and redesigning our existing processes. As long as any new approach comes with a clear and well-defined standard operating procedure, so the team is willing to follow it. So by having structured guidelines, it helps to ensure that everyone understands their roles and responsibilities and allow the entire workflow to run smoothly. And then with the proper SOPs, I think the company is more confident and comfortable to embrace improvements, new tools, or we can update any methods that can enhance the efficiency and our overall performance.
So for the last question, if you're able to redesign or like improve any processes in the company, which process or which department would you prioritize and why?
Improve process. Okay. If I could improve any process in the company, I would prioritize increasing the manpower in the graphic design department because the design stage is one of the most critical parts of our workflow and also one of the main contributors to delays. So when the design team is overwhelmed with too many jobs at the same time, it slows down the entire process from the output preparation and all the way to production. So by adding more designers, we will be able to distribute the workload more evenly, and then we can significantly speed up the turnaround time. This would allow us to move jobs to production faster and then results in quicker delivery of finished products to our customers, and I think overall more efficient workflow. That's all.
So that's all questions from us. Thank you so much for spending your time in and accepting our interview. And thank you also for the insights and is there anyone else want to add something?
Nothing. I just want to say thank you for giving us your time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, then we leave.